I walked in on my brother sleeping with my girlfriend in my own apartment. They laughed at me, but my revenge destroyed everything they had. I, a 31-year-old male, grew up in the shadow of my older brother Sam, a 34-year-old male. Ever since I can remember, Sam was the golden child who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. If you've ever been the less favored sibling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not just feeling less loved. It's this constant background radiation of you're not enough that follows you everywhere. Our family wasn't rich, but we were comfortable middle class in a decent suburb. Dad worked as a construction foreman. Mom was an elementary school secretary. Somehow they scraped enough together to put Sam through business school, while I had to take out loans for my graphic design degree. Your brother needs the support more than you do, Ryan. You're more independent, was my mom's constant refrain. Translation: we believe in Sam's future more than yours. When I was 9, Sam broke my PlayStation that my uncle had given me before he moved overseas. This wasn't just any console to me. It was literally the nicest thing I owned, and my uncle was the only adult who ever seemed to get me. I saved up allowance money for months to buy this racing game I wanted. Sam casually used it without asking, and accidentally spilled his energy drink all over it while showing off to his friends. His excuse? It was already glitchy anyway. When I cried, because I was 9, remember? My dad told me to man up, and my mom said I was being materialistic. The kicker? My parents made me share my birthday money to help buy Sam a new phone the next month, because he needed it for school. Sam didn't even say thanks, just took the cash like it was his due. At 13, I spent an entire summer mowing lawns in 95-degree heat to buy this silver Mongoose BMX bike. Nothing fancy, but it was mine, bought with my sweat. Sam borrowed it 2 days later to impress some girl, then returned it a week later, with bent rims and a cracked frame. Dad just shrugged and said, "Things get broken. Ryan, stop being so materialistic. Your brother has bigger ambitions than you, so he's under more pressure." Let me translate the parent speak. Sam's future matters more than yours, so his needs come first. Always. High school was even worse. My first serious girlfriend, Amber, was this cool, artsy girl who actually liked me for me. She had this awesome blue-streaked hair and made these wild drawings. I brought her home for dinner once, and Sam couldn't stop staring at her with that predatory look. You know, the one where a guy isn't looking at a person but at a conquest. 3 weeks later, I found them making out in his car. His excuse? "She wasn't that into you anyway, bro, just doing you a favor." He actually smirked while saying this. My parents suggested that maybe I didn't know how to keep a girl interested and told me to learn from your brother. Mom actually said, "Well, Amber seems happy with Sam now, so maybe it's for the best." Cool. Thanks for the support. I wasn't the smartest, strongest, or most popular kid, but I wasn't a loser either. I was on the track team, not the star, but had a decent 800-meter time, maintained a 3.4 GPA, and had my own friends. I just existed in this weird middle space where nothing I did was quite good enough because Sam had already done it better somehow. Captain of the football team? Check. Class president? Check. Dated the prom queen? Check. My entire childhood was hearing, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Until I started believing maybe they were right. After college, I moved 40 miles away to get some distance. Not far enough that my parents could guilt me about abandoning the family. They tried anyway, but far enough that I didn't have to see them every week. I got a decent job at a marketing agency doing graphic design starting at $43,000. Which wasn't amazing but enough to pay my bills and slowly chip away at my student loans. I rented a small but nice 1-bedroom in West Side Heights. Nothing fancy, beige walls, generic carpet, but it was mine, my space, the first place I'd ever had where Sam couldn't just barge in and take whatever he wanted. I decorated it with my own artwork and some vintage movie posters I'd collected. It wasn't much, but it felt like home. I kept contact with my family to the bare minimum: birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Every visit was the same. Sam bragging about his latest promotion at Jackson Financial Services, where he worked as an investment advisor. My parents hung on his every word like he was dropping pearls of wisdom, and I sat there like furniture. "Ryan, did you hear about Sam's bonus this year? Why don't you look into a job with more growth potential?" Then I met Natalie at a coffee shop where local artists displayed their work. I had some illustrations up, and she was studying them with this cute little head tilt and half smile that I later realized I absolutely loved. She had these hazel eyes that changed color depending on the light, and this laugh that made everyone around her want to laugh too. "These are really good," she said, pointing to my series of urban landscape illustrations. "The perspective on this one makes me feel like I'm actually standing there." We started talking, then hanging out, then dating. For the first time in my life, I felt like someone actually saw me, not just as Sam's little brother. Natalie was smart as hell, worked as a paralegal at Howard and Mitchell Law, was funny, and appreciated the parts of me that my family treated like defects. "You're sensitive in a good way, Ryan," she'd tell me. "You notice things other people miss. That's what makes your art so good." When she said it, I actually believed her. We dated for 2 years, moved in together after the first year, splitting the rent on a nicer 2-bedroom apartment in Parkview Commons. She pushed me to start freelancing on the side, building up a client portfolio beyond my day job. For once in my damn life I had something real that was mine, something Sam couldn't touch. Or so I thought. It was a Tuesday in October when everything went to hell. We'd been arguing about money lately. I wanted to save for a house down payment. She wanted to renovate the kitchen, normal couple stuff. So, I decided to surprise her by leaving work early, the first time I'd ever done that, picking up ingredients for her favorite pesto pasta dish, and making a special dinner. I opened our apartment door and instantly knew something was wrong. There were 2 water glasses on the coffee table, men's shoes by the door. That weren't mine. Expensive-looking loafers I'd never be able to afford. Then I heard it. Natalie's laugh coming from our bedroom, along with a voice I'd know anywhere. My stomach dropped, like I was on a roller coaster. That sick falling feeling where your insides turn to liquid. I walked to the bedroom doorway and just stood there, trying to process what I was seeing. Sam was sprawled across our bed in his fancy suit pants and unbuttoned dress shirt, drinking what looked like the $90 bottle of sparkling cider I'd been saving for our anniversary. Natalie was wearing just her underwear and one of my t-shirts, her makeup smudged in that specific way. When they noticed me, Sam didn't even look surprised, just smiled, that a-hole smile that I'd seen my whole life, the one that said, "I win again." "Well, look who's home early," he said, taking another sip of my special occasion cider. The worker bee returns to the hive. Natalie looked startled for maybe 2 seconds, before her face changed to something I'd never seen before, this sneer of contempt, disgust, like she was embarrassed to have ever been with me. "You weren't supposed to be home until 6, she said, like I was the one who'd done something wrong, like I was inconveniencing them by coming home to my apartment. Sam got up and walked over, putting his arm around my shoulder like we were buddies. His Rolex, a $12,000 watch I'd heard him brag about, gleamed on his wrist. "Ryan, buddy, don't look so shocked. We're actually doing you a favor here." "A favor?" I managed to say through clenched teeth. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from restraining myself from punching him in his perfect teeth. "Yeah, man. Natalie needs someone who can actually provide for her, not some guy who's still trying to make it as an artist at 31. He leaned in close, his breath reeking of mint and arrogance, and said just loud enough for Natalie to hear, "Face it. You've always been second best. Nat needs a real man, not whatever the hell you are. Tonight I'll show her what she's been missing." What killed me wasn't even what Sam said, it was seeing Natalie's reaction. She laughed, this cruel, mocking laugh I'd never heard from her before. Then she walked to the closet and started throwing my clothes onto the floor like they were garbage. "I've been settling this whole time," she said, tossing my favorite design portfolio onto the pile, the one with all my original drawings, some of which I'd made for her. "Your brother makes 3 times what you do and doesn't whine about artistic integrity when I talk about wanting nice things." She picked up the framed photo of us from our first vacation together and dropped it deliberately. The glass cracked with a sound that seemed to echo in my chest. 2 years of my life wasted on a guy who can't even ask for a raise, she continued, each word like a knife. Meanwhile, Sam just closed a deal worth more than you'll make in 5 years. I just stood there like an idiot, watching 2 years of what I thought was love get shredded in front of me. Sam grabbed her by the waist and kissed her neck while staring right at me, making sure I saw every second. "Get your stuff and go, little brother. We've got plans for this apartment that don't include you." I don't even remember packing. I just grabbed whatever I could fit into my backpack, some clothes, my laptop, my external hard drive with my design work, and the small box of family photos I kept. I left behind 2 years of my life, furniture I'd saved for, books I loved, everything too big to carry. It was raining, because of course it was, and I walked 6 blocks before I even thought about where I was going. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. Left some of your crap in the hallway. Anything still there tomorrow goes in the dumpster. Thanks for breaking in, Natalie, for me. I ended up crashing at my buddy Dave's place. His apartment was barely big enough for one person, a studio with a kitchenette and a bathroom where you could fully extend your arms, but he cleared space on his couch and didn't ask too many questions at first. He just handed me a soda and said, "Whenever you're ready to talk, man." 3 sodas later, I told him everything. He just listened, occasionally saying, "That's messed up," or "What an a-hole," which was exactly what I needed. No advice, no look on the bright side, just acknowledgement that I'd been royally screwed over. "Your brother's always been a jerk," Dave said finally. "But this is next-level sociopath stuff." A week into my couch surfing, Dave showed me something on his phone. "You probably shouldn't look at this, but you need to know." It was an Instagram post from Natalie. She and Sam were at the same restaurant where I took her for our 2-year anniversary, the one I had to save for 3 months to afford. She was wearing a watch I'd been saving up for months to buy her, and the caption read, "Upgraded to the better brother. Leveling up, never settle." The comments were even worse. Mutual friends asked what happened, and Natalie replied with garbage like, "Finally, realized I deserve better, and some men are boys, and some are real men." Sam commented with, "Thanks for the hand-me-down," and she responded, "Hardly used and easily upgraded." They were talking about me like I was a used car they'd traded in. "Everyone's been asking me what happened," I told Dave, staring at the ceiling that night. "Friends, co-workers, everyone. What am I supposed to say? My brother stole my girlfriend because he's always taken everything I've ever cared about." "Say nothing," Dave advised, tossing me an extra blanket. "Let them show everyone what pieces of trash they are." Easier said than done. I felt like I was walking around with my skin peeled off. Everything hurt. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and lost 11 pounds in 2 weeks. My boss called me into his office to ask if everything was okay because my work was slipping. 2 weeks later, my mom called. "We're having a family dinner on Sunday. Your presence is expected." I tried to make an excuse, but she cut me off. "Ryan, this is important. Family sticks together no matter what. Sam said you two had a disagreement, but it's time to be adults about it." "A disagreement? Is that what he called screwing my girlfriend in my bed?" "Mom, he slept with Natalie in our apartment while we were still together," I said, waiting for her shock, her outrage on my behalf. There was a pause. "Well, these things happen, Ryan. Natalie probably realized she and Sam have more in common. You'll find someone more on your level eventually." I almost threw my phone across the room. Against my better judgment, I went to the dinner. The masochist in me needed to see how far this would go. The dinner was exactly what I expected. Mom fawned over Sam, Dad nodded approvingly at everything he said, and Natalie sat there wearing a necklace I'm pretty sure cost more than my monthly rent. I just pushed food around my plate while they all pretended everything was normal. "We have some exciting news," my mom announced, practically vibrating with excitement. "Sam and Natalie are moving into the Oak Ridge condos." I nearly choked. Oak Ridge was the exact development I'd been saving up for, telling Natalie about for months. The place I'd planned to propose to her once I had enough for a down payment. "Got a sweet deal too," Sam added with that smirk that made me want to stab him with my fork. "Only $450,000 for the corner unit with the balcony. You know, the one you showed us in that brochure. Closed the deal yesterday." I felt my mom's hand on my shoulder, her nails digging in slightly. "Isn't it wonderful? Your brother is finally settling down with a quality woman. You should be happy for him instead of being jealous all the time." I looked at my dad, hoping for, I don't know, something. He just gave me that disappointed look and said, "Your brother works hard for what he wants. Maybe take notes," as if Sam had ever worked hard for anything in his life. "How's the couch at Dave's?" Sam asked, cutting into his steak. "Heard it's a little lumpy. Maybe you should have worked harder to keep your apartment and your girl." He winked at Natalie, who giggled like he'd said something charming instead of being a complete a-hole. I made it through dinner somehow. When I left, my mom hugged Natalie longer than she hugged me. After dinner, I needed a minute alone before driving back to Dave's, so I went to my dad's office to catch my breath. I sat in his old leather chair, the one he'd had since I was a kid, and tried to stop my hands from shaking. I accidentally bumped the mouse, waking up his computer. The screen showed several email tabs open. My dad was always terrible about logging out, something I'd warned him about a million times. I was about to walk away when a subject line caught my eye: compliance review, third quarter advisory accounts. I shouldn't have read it, but after everything that happened, something made me sit down and look closer. I clicked on the email and saw it was a chain between Sam and someone named Linda Blackwell from the compliance department. Nothing obvious at first, just typical corporate speak about quarterly reviews and documentation requirements. But something in Sam's dismissive responses felt off. I dug deeper, clicking through other emails in my dad's inbox. Dad was terrible about organization. He never deleted anything, and had thousands of messages. I found another email thread where Sam had sent my dad some documents to print, because the office printer was down. Those documents were client account statements, but there was something weird about them. I'd done enough design work to notice inconsistencies in formatting, margins that didn't align, font sizes that varied slightly between pages, small things most people wouldn't catch. I kept digging, found more emails, more inconsistencies. Then I hit the jackpot, an email from Sam to himself, but CC'd to my dad by mistake. With two attachments, William's aunt's official PDF and William's actual PDF. I opened them side by side. Same client, same account number, same date. Completely different balances. The official one showed a balance of $478,952. The actual one showed $116,283. Holy hell. I spent the next hour searching through more emails. A pattern emerged. Sam was skimming from client accounts, not massive withdrawals that would raise red flags, but consistent management fees and rebalancing transfers that slowly drained accounts. He was targeting older clients who might not monitor their accounts closely or understand the complex statements. From what I could piece together, Sam would show clients the doctored statements, with inflated balances while the actual accounts were being steadily drained. The compliance department was starting to ask questions, but Sam had been covering his tracks with forged authorization forms and deliberately confusing transaction histories. I sat there staring at the screen, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to walk away, the other part was looking for something. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Natalie was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, watching me. "Just needed some space," I mumbled, quickly closing the email tabs. She gave me this fake, concerned look. "You know, Ryan, this is why we didn't work out. You always needed space instead of facing reality." She walked closer. "Sam takes what he wants. That's why he's successful, and you're, well, you." As she walked away, I heard her say under her breath, "Pathetic." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those emails, about all those elderly people Sam was stealing from, people who had worked their whole lives for that money, who trusted him with their retirement funds. I thought about how Sam had always taken what was mine, but this was different. This was criminal. 3 days later, I got an unexpected visitor at Dave's apartment, a woman named Jessica, who introduced herself as a coworker of Natalie's from the law firm. "I've been debating whether to come here," she said nervously, sitting on the edge of Dave's couch. "But you deserve to know." What she told me changed everything. Sam and Natalie hadn't just randomly hooked up. They'd been seeing each other for 7 months behind my back. All those late nights at work Natalie claimed to have? She was with Sam. Those networking events she said she needed to attend? Dates with my brother. She'd come to the office bragging about dating 2 brothers. Jessica explained, looking disgusted, showing off the gifts Sam bought her. She said, "You were convenient, a stepping stone until something better came along. And Sam?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "He's worse. I overheard him on the phone once, laughing about how easy it was to take your girlfriend, said something about it being tradition to take whatever you have, that you'd never stand up to him because you never had before." I thanked her for telling me, but weirdly, I didn't feel that stabbing pain anymore, just ice-cold clarity. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked her. Jessica hesitated. "Because last week, Natalie convinced my grandmother to move her retirement account to Sam. Said he could double her returns. My grandmother has dementia. She doesn't understand what she's signing." That was the moment something inside me hardened. This wasn't just about me anymore. The following weekend I went back to my parents' place with the excuse of picking up some documents I needed for a new apartment application. The house was empty except for Sam, who was on the phone in the kitchen. He didn't hear me come in because he was too busy bragging. "Easiest con I've ever pulled," he was saying, lounging in his designer jeans while scrolling through his phone. These old people don't even check their statements properly. By the time anyone notices, I'll be living in the Caymans." There was a pause as the person on the other end spoke. "Nah, the firm suspects nothing. Linda's getting close, but I've got another $500,000 transfer scheduled for next week. Then I'm ghost. Got the offshore accounts all set up." Another pause. "Natalie? She's just another trophy. Once I close this Deutsche Bank deal, I'll have my pick of women. She's hot but high maintenance as hell. Keeps talking about a ring like I'm actually going to marry her." He laughed at whatever response he got. "My little brother? That pathetic loser. Classic Ryan. Always getting leftovers. It's been that way since we were kids. Mom and Dad still think he's a disappointment, you know? Always asking why he can't be more like me. Hilarious." I left without making a sound, my heart pounding in my chest. But I didn't leave immediately. I had a plan forming, one that had been building since I saw those emails. I waited in my car down the street until Sam left for his tennis game, then went back inside. Instead of confronting him or telling my parents, I went straight to my dad's office with a USB drive. I copied every incriminating email, every fraudulent report, every document that showed exactly what Sam was doing. I also took photos of account statements, showing how he'd been stealing from elderly clients for years, names, dates, amounts. Everything a prosecutor would need. While copying the files, I found an old family photo in the drawer. Sam and me building a sandcastle. At the beach when I was maybe 5. Probably the last time he hadn't been a complete a-hole to me. I stared at it for a moment, then put it back. On my way out, I copied my parents' financial documents too, just a hunch. What I found made my blood run cold. Sam had convinced them to invest their entire retirement fund, $340,000, into his special client portfolio, the same fraudulent fund he was using to steal from his clients. My own parents were his victims too. That night, I didn't just get drunk like you might expect. Instead, I made a detailed plan. This wasn't going to be some petty revenge. Sam had spent his entire life taking everything from me and hurting people who trusted him. It was time for consequences. I spent the next week organizing the evidence. I created spreadsheets tracking every fraudulent transaction. I documented the timeline of Sam's scheme. I even found evidence that he'd forged signatures on withdrawal forms. "Dude, are you sure about this?" Dave asked one night watching me work. "This is serious stuff, like federal crime serious." "He stole from elderly people with dementia," I replied without looking up. "He stole from our parents. He's been stealing from me my entire life. Someone has to stop him." Dave nodded slowly. "Just be careful, man. Sam has always found a way to land on his feet, usually on top of you." "Not this time," I promised. I didn't rush. Good revenge takes patience, and I'd been patient my entire life. First, I spent 2 weeks learning everything I could about financial fraud, SEC, whistleblower procedures, and how investment firms handle compliance issues. I needed to be methodical. After all, Sam was the golden child. He'd always find a way to wriggle out of trouble if I wasn't careful. Step 1, evidence collection. I bought a new laptop with cash from a big box store 2 towns over, created a new email using public Wi-Fi at a library where I'd never been before, and used a VPN. I wasn't taking any chances. Step 2, documentation. I didn't just dump a bunch of emails into a folder. I created a detailed analysis showing a pattern of unauthorized fees across 18 different client accounts, a timeline of withdrawals corresponding with Sam's major purchases, a comparison of the doctored statements versus real statements, and a list of forged client signatures. I found examples where he didn't even try to make them look authentic, evidence that he was targeting elderly clients, especially those with cognitive decline. The total amount was around $780,000, not millions but still a federal crime. The beauty was in the details and the pattern, not some massive single heist. Step 3, strategic distribution. I didn't send it to Jackson Financial directly, that would have been too obvious. Instead, I created 3 separate packages with slightly different information. Package 1 to Linda Blackwell, the compliance officer who was already suspicious, included only client statements and transaction records, things she would have access to anyway, but organized to highlight the pattern, no personal connection to Sam. Package 2 to the State Financial Regulatory Board included evidence of forged signatures and unauthorized transfers, plus a timeline connecting withdrawals to Sam's purchases, the new car, the Rolex, the down payment on the condo. Package 3, to the SEC Enforcement Division, included everything plus evidence that Sam was planning to leave the country. I'd found emails about a business opportunity in a non-extradition country scheduled for next month. Each package came with a different cover letter, different formatting, and a slightly different focus, making it impossible to tell they came from the same source. Then I waited, checking financial industry news daily. 17 days later, while sitting in a coffee shop 60 miles from my hometown, I got a text from Dave. "Dude, check the news right now." The headline read, "Local financial advisor charged in elaborate client fraud scheme." There was Sam's smug face in the article photo, looking considerably less smug, as he was being led away in handcuffs. According to the article, authorities had received an anonymous tip with extensive documentation of his fraud. The firm had frozen all related accounts and was cooperating with investigators. Sam was being held on $1 million bail. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not joy, just a strange emptiness, like I'd finally put down a heavy weight I'd been carrying my whole life. The real satisfaction came later that day when my phone exploded with calls and texts. First was Natalie. "Ryan, did you have something to do with this?" They froze all of Sam's accounts, all of them. "The condo deal fell through. I need to talk to you right now." I didn't respond. Next was my mom. "Ryan, this is terrible. Your brother has been arrested for some misunderstanding at work. You need to come home immediately. Family supports family during crisis." I texted back, "Is it really a misunderstanding when he stole $2.3 million? Her response was immediate. "How do you know that number? What did you do?" My dad's message was more direct. "Your brother says you took documents from my computer and sent them to his company. If that's true, you've betrayed this family. He could go to prison." I replied, "Did he tell you he stole your retirement money too? Check your investment statements." Radio silence for 3 hours. Then a call from my dad that I let go to voicemail. His voice sounded broken in a way I'd never heard before. "Ryan, you were right. The accounts are empty. Everything we saved gone. Your mother is devastated. Please call us back." I didn't, not then. I needed time to process everything. I started looking for a new job far away from all of them. I found a small apartment and paid 3 months' rent in advance using my emergency savings. I was done with that chapter of my life. A week later, my parents showed up at Dave's apartment. Someone at the bank had told them where I worked, and they tracked me down. My mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. My dad couldn't even look me in the eye. "Can we talk?" my mom asked, her voice missing that judgmental tone for the first time in my life. I let them in. They sat on Dave's lumpy couch, looking small and defeated. "The house is being seized," my dad said flatly. "Part of the asset recovery for the people he stole from. We have nowhere to go." "Sam told the investigators you stole the documents," my mom added. "He's trying to claim you framed him because you were jealous." I laughed, actually laughed. "And you believe that?" They exchanged glances. "We don't know what to believe anymore," my dad admitted. "Everything we thought we knew." "Sam has been stealing from you for years," I said. "Not just your retirement. Remember that loan for his first car? The money for his business trip to Vegas? The cash that went missing from your anniversary fund? All Sam." My mom started crying, not her usual manipulative tears but real broken sobs. "We need your help, Ryan," my dad said, swallowing his pride with visible difficulty. "We have nowhere else to turn." I sat back and looked at them, really looked at them. These people who had favored Sam over me my entire life, who had dismissed and minimized me at every turn, who were only here because they needed something. "Remember when I was 16 and wanted to go to that summer art program, the one that cost $1,200, and you said you couldn't afford it? Then 2 weeks later, you bought Sam a $3,500 motorcycle because he needed transportation." They both looked away. "Or when I graduated college, and you skipped my ceremony because Sam had a golf tournament the same weekend." "We made mistakes," my mom whispered. "No, you made choices," I corrected her, consistently, for decades. "And now you're facing the consequences of those choices." I stood up. "I'm not going to testify against Sam. The evidence speaks for itself. But I'm not going to help him either." "Then help us," my dad pleaded. "We're your parents." I took a deep breath. "I'll help you find a place to stay temporarily. I'll help you apply for benefits since you're now technically victims of fraud. But I won't give you money, and I won't pretend the past didn't happen." As they were leaving, my mom turned back. Natalie's been calling us constantly. She's pregnant, says it's Sam's. Of course she was. Perfect timing. 2 days later, Natalie showed up at my workplace. Her designer clothes were replaced with a simple dress. Her makeup subtle instead of flashy. The classic damsel in distress look. "Ryan, please," she said, eyes welling with tears. "I made a terrible mistake. Sam is a monster. He lied to me about everything." "Like you lied to me for 7 months?" I replied calmly. Her eyes widened. "You knew?" "Not at the time. Found out later." "I'm pregnant," she said, placing her hand dramatically on her stomach. "I need help. Sam's assets are frozen. His parents are broke. You're the only one I can turn to." I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd once thought I'd marry, now a stranger who'd helped destroy my life. "There's a women's resource center on 7th Street, I said, writing the address on a post-it note. "They can help with housing assistance and prenatal care. The legal aid office can help you file for child support against Sam's future earnings." She stared at the note, then back at me. "That's it? That's all you're offering? After everything we had? After everything you threw away?" I corrected her. "You made your choice, Natalie. You chose the better brother, remember? The real man? How's that working out for you?" Her face contorted with anger. "You'll regret this. You'll end up alone and miserable like you've always been." I shrugged. "Maybe, but I'd rather be alone than with someone who sees me as a stepping stone." As she turned to leave, she hissed, "This baby is your nephew or niece. Don't you care about family?" That hit harder than I expected. I did care, but I also knew what was coming. If it's really Sam's, I'll be there for the kid, but not for you, and not like this. 6 months later, my life had completely changed. I'd landed a job as creative director at a promising tech startup, doubled my salary, and got equity. I moved to a nice apartment downtown in a completely different city. I started dating casually, no rush to get serious. Sam was sentenced to 12 years for fraud, embezzlement, and financial elder abuse. With good behavior, he'd be out in 8, but his career was over. My parents moved into a small apartment with their few remaining possessions. They call occasionally, but our relationship is different now, more cautious, more honest. As for Natalie, last I heard, she had moved back to her hometown to live with her parents. She had the baby, and a DNA test confirmed it was Sam's. She tried to get Sam to acknowledge paternity from prison, but he refused, claiming it could be anyone's kid. Karma's a witch. Jessica, the co-worker who'd warned me, got her grandmother's money back through the Victim Restitution Fund. She sent me a thank you card that simply said, "Some heroes don't wear capes." Today, on my 32nd birthday, I got a letter from the county jail, Sam's handwriting on the envelope. "Little brother," it began. "I've had time to think in here, made some mistakes. I know I was wrong about a lot of things. The guys in here are tough, not like the country club crowds I'm used to. I could use some commissary money. Family helps family, right? $200 would make a big difference. I'll pay you back when I get out." No apology, no acknowledgement of what he'd done, just another demand, another expectation. I tore the letter into tiny pieces and dropped them into the trash. Then I poured myself a glass of sparkling water, sat on my balcony overlooking the city, and smiled. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about finally breaking free.